FIFA bombshell. The billion-dollar tournament is slipping from America's hands. Historic decision. Breaking tonight, America's World Cup dominance just collapsed. Canada and Mexico took everything.
Breaking tonight, America's World Cup dominance just collapsed. Canada and Mexico didn't negotiate, they took over. The football world is reeling from an announcement that changes everything. FIFA just delivered a decision that nobody saw coming. Not the sports analysts, not the American organizers, not even the fans who assumed the 2026 World Cup would belong to the United States. They were all utterly incorrect. Something extraordinary happened in the past 48 hours. The tournament that was supposed to crown America as football's new capital, it just shifted north and south. Canada and Mexico, the countries everyone dismissed as supporting actors, just became the stars of the show. And in the United States, for the first time in modern sports history, America is watching from the sidelines, while its neighbors take center stage. This isn't just about stadium assignments or match schedules. This is about power. This is about which nation gets to host the moments that define a generation. The semifinals, the knockouts, the matches that billions of people will remember for decades. FIFA's decision doesn't just redistribute games. It redistributes glory. And tonight, that glory belongs to Canada and Mexico. Let's go back to where this story began. November 2022, FIFA headquarters in Zurich. The announcement shook the sports world. For the first time ever, 3 nations would co-host a World Cup. The United States, Mexico, and Canada. 48 teams, 104 matches. The biggest, most ambitious tournament in FIFA history. Everyone celebrated. Everyone assumed America would lead. The logic seemed bulletproof. The United States has the infrastructure, the massive stadiums, the corporate sponsors, the media machine. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey seats 82,000. AT&T Stadium in Dallas holds 80,000. SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, a $5 billion architectural marvel. On paper, America owned this tournament before it even started. But here's what the analysts missed. Infrastructure doesn't equal readiness. Size doesn't equal passion. And money? Money doesn't guarantee FIFA's trust. Fast forward to March 2024. Behind closed doors at FIFA headquarters, something started changing. Reports began circulating, quiet at first, then louder. American cities were struggling. Stadium agreements stalled. Security protocols fell behind schedule. Sponsorship disputes created delays. Political tensions complicated planning. The machine that everyone assumed would run smoothly, it was grinding. And while America fumbled, Canada and Mexico were moving. Fast, focused, flawlessly. Toronto upgraded BMO Field to international standards ahead of schedule. Vancouver transformed BCPU Ace into a world-class venue that impressed every FIFA inspector who walked through. Mexico City renovated the legendary Azteca Stadium, the cathedral of football where Pelé and Maradona wrote history. Guadalajara and Monterrey followed. Every deadline met, every standard exceeded, every promise delivered. Dear viewers, between March 2024 and January 2025, something remarkable happened in FIFA's decision-making process. American organizers kept promising, Canadian and Mexican organizers kept performing, and FIFA officials, methodical and patient, started asking a question that would reshape the entire tournament. Who do we trust with football's biggest stage? Then came the turning point, September 8th, 2024. FIFA President Gianni Infantino stood in a private meeting room in Doha, reviewing the latest preparation reports. The contrast was stark. American cities, 7 behind schedule, 3 over budget, 2 facing political complications. Canadian cities, all on track, all under budget, all ready for inspection. Mexican cities, ahead of schedule, infrastructure upgraded, fan engagement programs already operational. Translation: FIFA just realized that America's size doesn't matter if Canada and Mexico's execution is superior. What happened next sent shockwaves through the sports industry. October 2024. FIFA quietly began redistributing matches. Not publicly, not officially, just subtle shifts in the tournament schedule. A quarterfinal that was supposed to happen in Dallas, moved to Mexico City, a knockout round originally assigned to New Jersey, reassigned to Toronto, one match, then another, then another. American organizers noticed. They protested. They reminded FIFA of contracts. They pointed to their massive investments. FIFA's response was diplomatic but devastating. We assign matches based on readiness and fan experience. Right now, Canada and Mexico are demonstrating both. By December 2024, the reality became impossible to ignore. FIFA released updated hosting allocations. The numbers told the story. Original plan: United States hosts 60 matches, Mexico hosts 13, Canada hosts 10. New plan: United States hosts 48 matches, Mexico hosts 29, Canada hosts 27. That's not a minor adjustment. That's a complete power shift. But the most stunning part? The quality of matches being reassigned. FIFA didn't just move group stage games. They moved the matches that matter. Knockout rounds, quarterfinals. And according to sources close to FIFA's planning committee, at least one semifinal is now confirmed for Toronto. Not New York. Not Los Angeles. Toronto. Let me be clear about what this means. When families around the world gather to watch the 2026 World Cup semifinals, when billions of viewers tune in for football's most dramatic moments, they won't be looking at American stadiums. They'll be watching Canadian and Mexican venues. They'll be hearing Canadian and Mexican crowds. They'll be witnessing Canadian and Mexican cities on the biggest sports stage on earth. That's why this isn't just about logistics. This is about legacy. This is about which countries get to tell their grandchildren, we hosted the matches that mattered. Now, let's talk about why this happened. Because FIFA's decision wasn't arbitrary. It was earned. Canada's preparation has been extraordinary. The Canadian Soccer Association invested heavily in infrastructure, security, and fan experience. Federal and provincial governments coordinated seamlessly. Toronto and Vancouver didn't just meet FIFA's standards, they set new ones. When FIFA inspectors visited BMO Field in August 2024, they called it a model for future World Cup venues. When they toured Vancouver's facilities, they praised the most comprehensive security planning we've encountered. But beyond infrastructure, there's something else. Passion. Canada's football culture has exploded over the past decade. Youth participation has tripled. Professional leagues are thriving. And the national team, they qualified for Qatar 2022 after 36 years of absence. Canadian fans aren't casual observers. They're hungry. They're ready. They're waiting for football's biggest party to arrive on their doorstep. Mexico's story runs even deeper. This is a nation that lives football. The Azteca Stadium hosted World Cup finals in 1970 and 1986. Generations of Mexican families have memories etched into that turf. When FIFA inspectors evaluated Mexico's venues, they didn't just see stadiums. They saw cathedrals. They felt history. They recognized that Mexican fans don't just attend matches. They create experiences that players remember forever. And Mexico delivered on every practical measure. Stadium upgrades completed early. Transportation systems modernized. Hotel infrastructure expanded. Security protocols tested and refined. Every box checked. Every promise kept. FIFA didn't reward Mexico with more matches because of sentiment. They rewarded Mexico because Mexican organizers demonstrated that history and preparation aren't mutually exclusive. So where does that leave the United States? Still hosting. Still important. But no longer dominant. American venues will showcase group stage matches. They'll host knockout rounds. But the crown jewels of the tournament, the semifinals that billions will watch, those moments belong to Canada and Mexico now. Some might call this a failure of American organization. Others might call it a triumph of Canadian and Mexican execution. Both perspectives miss the larger truth. This is FIFA making a statement about what matters in global sports. Not the biggest stadiums, not the richest sponsors, but readiness, passion, and respect for the game. And there's a deeper pattern here that extends beyond football. We're watching a shift in how international organizations view North American leadership. For decades, the assumption was simple. America leads, others follow. The 2026 World Cup was supposed to reinforce that hierarchy. Instead, it's demolishing it. Canada and Mexico didn't ask permission to step forward. They didn't wait for American approval. They simply prepared better, executed faster, and earned FIFA's confidence. And when FIFA had to choose between America's promises and Canada and Mexico's performance, FIFA chose performance. This is the same pattern we're seeing in trade negotiations, the same dynamic reshaping climate agreements, the same shift transforming technology partnerships. The world isn't waiting for American leadership anymore. The world is moving forward with whoever's ready to lead. And in 2026, on football's biggest stage, that leadership belongs to Canada and Mexico. Think about what happens on June 11th, 2026. Opening day, the world tunes in, millions of viewers expecting to see American stadiums dominating the broadcast. Instead, they see Toronto's skyline, Vancouver's mountains, Mexico City's Azteca at sunset. The narrative that America owns this tournament, it evaporates in the first 24 hours. And as the tournament progresses, as knockout rounds unfold in Montreal and Guadalajara and Toronto, as semifinals captivate billions in Mexican and Canadian venues, a new reality crystallizes. North America's football future doesn't run through Miami or Dallas. It runs through the countries that showed up ready. For Canada, this is transformational. A nation often overshadowed in global sports is about to host matches that define careers. When players score in those Toronto semifinals, when goalkeepers make saves in Vancouver knockouts, Canadian cities will be forever linked to football immortality. That's not just about one tournament. That's about permanently elevating Canada's position in global sports culture. For Mexico, this is validation. A country with deep football roots proving that tradition and innovation can coexist. When the world watches Azteca Stadium host a 2026 quarterfinal, they're not just watching a match. They're witnessing a nation reclaim its rightful place among football's elite hosts. And for the United States, this is a lesson. A reminder that global leadership isn't inherited, it's earned. And when you're not ready, when you're not organized, when you're not executing, the world doesn't wait. The world finds partners who are. Dear viewers, we're 10 months away from the biggest World Cup in history. 48 nations will compete. 104 matches will be played. But the real story isn't about who wins the trophy. The real story is about who hosts the moments that matter. And that story just shifted dramatically. FIFA didn't stun America with this decision. Canada and Mexico stunned America by outperforming expectations so completely that FIFA had no choice but to recognize excellence. This is what happens when preparation meets opportunity, when passion meets professionalism, when two nations decide they're not content being supporting actors anymore. Canada and Mexico didn't take over the World Cup by force. They earned it, match by match, venue by venue, standard by standard. And when that opening whistle blows in June 2026, when billions of people around the world start watching, they'll witness something unprecedented. Not just the biggest World Cup ever, but the tournament that proved football's future in North America belongs to the nations that were ready for it. The spotlight has shifted, and it's never shifting back.